can make Leela.
Catch her while she moves.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Hey, everyone.
no,
Uh,
I missed that. Thank
okay.
you. Oh, Gita, nice to see you. Jan and Glenda, Maureen, and Lisa. Hello, Sophie, Leona,
Hey.
and Lynette. Hello, and Angela.
Nope. Okay.
And Liz with the cool hat.
Thanks, Leela. Okay.
I love Liz's hats. She's always
Yeah,
wearing so cool hats.
absolutely.
So good to see all of you.
We'll just wait a few more minutes. People.
Yeah, but you
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 want me to
can you can
start?
start. Yeah, yeah, and then Leela and I let people in.
Okay. So, uh, today, because the curriculum is working with Fetter 6 right now, we're going to do Fetter 6 exploration. Um, as always, it's kind of a see what arises in the moment kind of thing. But I think we're going to be doing a uh, exploration of sound through the Fetter 6 lens. So if you'd like to close your eyes, take a few deep breaths. With each breath, feel the muscles get a little bit more relaxed. You don't have to think about anything that has happened earlier today. You don't have to think about anything that might happen later on. The only thing you have to pay attention to right now is what is absolutely in your direct experience. So take a few more deep breaths, letting all of the tension out, feeling gravity pulling you deeper and deeper into the seat with each exhalation. Now, I'd like for you to let your breath go back to normal and bring your attention to a sound somewhere in your vicinity. It might be in your room, it might be outside of the room. Try to pick something which is relatively consistent. So it might be a refrigerator running, or it might be traffic outside, or um, somebody's mowing the lawn, anything that has a consistent sound. If you happen to be in an almost completely anechoic chamber, then notice the sounds that are happening inside the body. A lot of us have a very quiet tinnitus that goes underneath the radar most of the time, but you might notice that. You can maybe even notice that you hear the nervous system or um, the blood running in the veins. But this experience will actually be better if you can pick something which is outside of the body. So see if you can find something there first, and then use the bodily sounds as a bit of a last resort. So keeping your attention light and gentle, find that sound that seems to be in the external environment and allow the attention to just gently hold it in focus and notice what immediately comes up as soon as you have locked on to this sound. Do you immediately see a vision, an image of what this sound represents? If it's a bird, are you seeing an image of a bird in a tree? If it's a car, do you see an image of a car? If it's a refrigerator, do you see an image of a refrigerator? And if you're not a particularly visually minded thinker, see if it shows up in some other way. Maybe you hear a sentence about it. If it feels like there's an internal knowing of what the object is without seeing a sight, an image of it, then get very curious in your direct experience about how this object is known to be the object that it is thought to be. So recognizing however the object appears, if it's an image, if it's a thought, if it's a sound, let that go and keep coming back to the very raw, direct experience of the sound. The next thing I'd like for you to notice is, can you seem to locate that sound in space? Can you tell that it's 20 degrees to the right or 60 degrees to the left? Does it seem to be above you or behind you? Feel what it feels like to have something appear at a specific distance from you with a specific orientation. What is actually happening that it feels like that sound is happening at a distance from a specific direction? Are you comparing that sound to what seems to be the absence of sound in the other direction? Does it feel like it's weighted to one side of your experience? Do you only hear it through one ear? Without trying to do anything to change this experience, I would like you to just notice, do you have a physical sensation that is helping to create a sense of truth to that feeling that the sound is at a certain distance from a specific direction? Is there a tension arising in the body? Is there a feeling of extra pressure in the ear or the side of the head closest to that sound? Does it feel like the condensation of sensation happening somewhere in a region which is creating a sense of weightiness or spatialization through which you're viewing that sound? we really want to get a sense for what it is that is creating this feeling of distance that we take for granted. Because distance is not an actuality in our experience. Distance is a perceptual overlay. The fact is that the sounds are not happening at a distance outside the body, and yet we somehow experience them that way. So we want to get very curious about what it is exactly that we are feeling, seeing, hearing, smelling, and tasting that is giving us the illusion of that sense of distance. Just as it's possible that we are deciding that the sound is coming from the right because there seems to be a comparative lack of that sound on the left. We are often judging things to be at a distance because we're comparing them to something which seems to be here in the center of our experience. Experiencing sound close up or seeing the three-dimensional vision collapse to two-dimensional vision is interesting, but it's not transformative. It's not necessarily more than a curious parlor trick. If we don't take from that the much deeper insight that there is not anything separate from or at a distance to the appearance that's arising. So while holding on to a sound outside, and if you have lost the sound that was there before, try to find another relatively consistent sound, something that you can hold your attention on. I want you to feel again this sense of distance with that object somewhere outside of you. And then once that is felt, I want you to turn the attention back inside the body to what it is that feels like it is the one that seems to be hearing this sound, the one who is presumed to be seated right here in the center of experience, with a whole world happening in 360 degrees around it. And I want to be very clear when you're looking for this one, this witness, this subject who is separate from the object, it can only show up in one of the five senses. It can only be in one of the five physical senses or the five mental correlates of those physical senses. So I would like you to be on the lookout for physical sensations in the body, mental images that seem to be supporting the idea of a witnesser or a hearer, something which might be a representation of the body in its current configuration. There might be an internal sense of a sound which is being pitted against this external sound, and the two might be compared one to the other. So if you have this sort of internal tinnitus happening, that might seem very much close up, and that might be compared to this sound that seems to be at such a distance from it. Notice anything that arises that seems to be an indication of something that is located here. Keep listening to the sounds outside, and then again, quickly turning the attention back to scan through all of the five senses to see what feels like it's at this location separate from the sensation out there. Do you feel the denseness or the solidity of the body? Do you feel the muscles in the face, the muscles behind the eyes, tension in the head? Do you feel a contraction in the chest? Do you feel something that seems to be saying, this is the central point of existence, and everything is happening around me? And if you do, simply tease it apart into the five senses. If it's sensation, allow it to be sensation. If it's a mental image, allow it to be a mental image. And as you find these small phenomena that show up, notice what it is that seems to be creating a sense of distance or a sense of space between this physical sensation in the body or this mental image in the mind and the sound which is supposedly happening at a distance from it. Does that felt distance almost seem to be another felt sense? Does it almost feel like an intangible field radiating outside the body, creating a sense of distance? Does it almost feel like a large aura that fills out the room, this feeling of presence, a sort of awareness that seems to be reaching from some core inside the body out as far as the senses can reach? If so, if you feel that, I want you to recognize that it's only a physical sensation. It has nothing to do with that sense of distance. It has nothing to do with the sound which is apparently being heard. It's another very convincing illusion of the sensory system. So, placing your attention on the sound, allow that sound to be free from those illusions. Recognize that any feeling that happens in the physical system, in the felt sense field, has no relation to that sound at a distance. Recognize that the visual images that arise in the mind of a body and a bird on a distant tree limb, or a car a mile away. That is just an image appearing in the mental space, and it has no connection with that sound as it appears in its most raw nature. And if there is only sound that is appearing with nothing here which can be found to be the receiver of that sound, or the one which is actually the center of the experience, then that sound itself, no matter how far away it initially seemed to be, can only be happening right here. The sensations in the body and the images that show up in the mind and the sounds which are heard are all happening in exactly the same place. They're neither dependent on each other nor happening separately. So see if you can relax that sense of distance, that sense of being the one who is hearing the sound. See if you can put so much attention on the sound itself that that distance naturally collapses. Allow the sound itself to grow in volume, to seem to take up more and more space. Be absolutely present with the sound so that the sound becomes all there is. And when the sound has expanded, and it seems to be right here, the only thing in experience, then where is the subject that seems to be apart from it? If anything still claims to be the subject, notice in which of the five senses it is appearing, and pay attention to that feeling, that image, that sound, and recognize that it is not doing the witnessing. It is not doing the hearing. Tension in the throat or the chest or the head cannot hear. An image of a body cannot hear. They cannot know and they cannot recognize. So they are not the witness or the hearer. All that's here is sound, sounding, being experienced by the sound. There is nothing separate from it that needs to experience it. The hearing is the sound. Seeing if you can maintain this perspective, this witness-free, direct experience with the sound. I want you to gradually feel back into the body and notice also that there is no distance between the sensations in the body and the supposed witness or knower of the sensations. And in a few moments when you're ready, you can begin to very slowly open your eyes and let the light in. And as you do this, I want you to also recognize that as images appear, that there is no witnesser, no seer, separate from the images. The sights themselves are the seeing. The sensations themselves are the feeling. Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
No, I was dozing a bit, but I went with the exercise, going into the sound and doing that push pull in the sounds, and then it goes into that hypnagogic state. Really, really lovely.
Nice.
Really lovely.
All right. So we do have some new people here today. So just so you know, it's a very open for discussion. Everybody is free to raise their hand, and you can feel free to ask anything that is relevant for you right now, whether it's about the curriculum or about your practice or things that are going on. If you
Also welcome not to do anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're also welcome not to do anything, but if you specifically want to bring up something that you don't want to be recorded, just let us know ahead of time and we can pause the recording for you, and you can ask whatever you would like to ask.
And we don't have a backstop. We haven't needed that yet. Oh yeah, we do.
We do actually, 'cause
today.
I have a session at, I actually forgot to look to see what time it is. I think it's 3:30.
3 o'clock, yeah.
3:30, something like that. So yeah, so we do actually have a backstop today. But we still have plenty of time. So
Yes.
okay, hold on a second. Where did we go? Oh, there we are. Uh, and so it looks like the first one
Was Gita?
is Gita first. Okay. Add pin.
No, Maureen.
Oh, Maureen.
Maureen,
Sorry. Sorry, Gita.
No, that's fine. I was going to say that.
Thank you. It's weird. It re shuffled them when I pinned us.
That's okay. I don't know if someone goes first, just to give me a chance to settle in a little bit.
Okay, would you prefer that?
Either way, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
If you have one person before me, that would be great.
Sure. No problem.
Anna was next.
Thank
Was
you.
Anna next? Okay.
Let's take Anna.
Hi, Anna. Thank you, Leela. Hey, Anna.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
I'm just having very interesting, like, very subtle experiences. Like, I was Saturday, I was sitting and I noticed there is some rejection pattern in the mental space. Some thoughts just like, I was like, oh, okay, rejections, they rejected me. And just go into body, into sensations, and just look for rejection as something like this. And that's just like nothing. And that's it, as simple as that.
Yeah.
And then I was driving today, and then someone on the road, oh, in the morning, I was driving and I was listening to one of your videos, and the internet connection was on, off, on, off, on, off. And the first one, that resistance, oh, okay, sit with sensations. And then appearing, disappearing, appearing, disappearing. Next thing again, you notice that? And third times that happens, it actually was laughing reaction, but still was reaction. And another time it happens, and just sensations and no reaction at all.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. And on the way back, there was someone caught me over there, what happened on the road. And then sensations, like some mental yep, yep, yep. And then he ignored me, okay, because I have noticed I need to specify very shortly what is happening. So, you know, like ignoring, you know, that ignorance. So just sensations and looking for that ignoring. And you can't find it.
That's such a good insight. Absolutely.
And that's just like, it's, yeah, like once you sit like this, you can't find anything. And then another time today, there was some kind of comparison happened in here. Oh, okay, comparing. So there is some kind of me. Okay, look for this me who has been compared. And once, you know, like once that remembering was, you know, happened, that look for this me, you could actually see this like a mental, you know, formation, projection, like, oh, is this some kind of me? And there is descriptions, what's this me?
Yeah.
That was very interesting. Recently, things happening. But my question is, because I only realized that boundaries actually exist a few years ago, very recently, and I was operating on codependency, enmeshment, people pleasing, and all this, and a lot of my own desires and needs and all this suppressed. So how can I differentiate between when actually boundary needs to be set, or I have to allow people to be the way they just are? And to see, you know, like, because that's what I'm thinking. That's okay for people to be the way they are, but then maybe I'm suppressing myself. And how do I know? Because I have a problem with boundaries.
Yeah, yeah. It's so difficult to feel into when you have history and you have trauma and you have all of that. Being aware that you have an issue with boundaries is very, very helpful. Working with the second Fetter about the underlying belief, you know, the toxic starting point, that where you start out from, you know, they have a right to be here, I do not have a right to be here. Being aware that that is an issue, that kind of sets you into a new starting point, because then you know that you need to be aware, you need to be alert. Full stop on another page. When we talk about boundaries and being aware of when am I accepting other people to be who they are, and when do I have strong boundaries, it's we only have issues with boundaries if we think those two things are opposites, because they're not. They are happening at the same time. Like if you have two countries, right, and you have a border between, I'm not taking the US because that's too hot a potato to talk about. So let's say Europe, right? You have a border between, let's say Denmark and Germany. And for all Americans, yes, there is a border between Denmark and Germany. It's not the same. Denmark is not capital of, but let's leave that.
I know that now.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
do. So happy. So you have a very clear boundary where Denmark is and where Germany starts. And there's not really any, you know, debate about that. Nobody's going like, oh, I think I want to live over there, and then just live over there, because the boundary is just respected. There's nobody standing at the border and go, oh, you're not supposed to do that. Everybody just respects it, because we have very, very clear boundary of where Denmark is and where Germany is. So that's also, if somebody comes and say, I want to live over there, the consensus is going to be like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're going back there, you know? So, and there's no fuss about it. There's no, oh, should we consider if it's okay? Oh, should we allow them this once? Or are they going to get sad if we say no? You know, all of that is not there, because they're clear boundaries. So it's just a no. And it's not even an unkind no. And it's not even a no. It's just no. That's clear boundaries. And that is where other people can say, I think I want to live over there. You can say you want to live over there, but you're not. I mean, that's Germany. You're not living over there. You're living in here. You know, so it's like there's just very, very clear understanding of where what is. And if you can take that scenario and turn it that way, you know, to look at yourself, then there's a very clear scenario of, that's my handbag. What are you doing in my handbag? That's not like about it. It's just like, hang on, hands up from my handbag. That's my phone. This is my body. You know, it's just very, very clear.
There is no strong reactivity.
Why would there be?
Okay, I'll give you, yeah.
Because there's nothing to defend.
Yeah.
It's only when you don't have boundaries that you think there's something to defend.
Mm-hmm.
When you have clear boundaries, there's nothing to defend. There's no reason to go completely overboard. It's like it's like with parents and children, right? That we have this thing that we need to show our children clear boundaries. I'm always like, are you absolutely sure about that? Are you sure about that? How are you with your boundaries? Because you only need to put your foot down if you have an issue with your boundaries. Otherwise, it's very, very clear. I'm not sitting and, well, now I am poking a finger up Todd's nose because it's his body. Sorry. You know? So it's like there's very, very clear understanding of where what is.
This was recently, just very, very couple days ago, my eldest son, who is approaching nearly 30, and his car insurance is quite high. So he said, you know, like, Mom, I thinking, you know, like maybe you could do a car insurance, take car insurance, you know, insure cars on both cars on your name, so that we, and I could feel there was just like a definite, absolute no in the body, but it was just like, it was so much. I was sitting on the sofa and I could feel like very, very strong no, and I simultaneously felt like a small child and I actually broke in tears because I was just like, but it was very childlike feeling in the, you know, here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly. And it's only because you have, it's because the boundary thing is very new to you, you know? So therefore you don't feel that you have a right to say no. I mean, if that was my son saying that, I would have laughed out loud. You are hilarious. As if. No. You know, I would have taken it as a joke. So it's about that you're very new to this boundary concept, and you need to, and you're doing it beautifully, feeling that there's a little girl in you going like, no, please listen. And because she's not listened to, you break into tears, you know? So it's just really, you know, back here. Can you be in a body where you feel that you have a clear boundary, you do not dare to say it? Can you just take a beat? It's always a good idea to get yourself used to saying, I need to sleep on that, even though you know it's a no. But then just give yourself the time and give yourself the space, you know, I need to sleep on that. Would you like, you know, to be promoted and get, you know, an extra 0 on your yearly income? I need to sleep on that. So you just allow yourself that space to feel where the boundary is, to feel into the body yes, body no, all the different sides of it, instead of being put on the spot like you were, because you are novice to boundaries, and then allow yourself to be a novice in the boundaries.
See, like with my teenager son,
Yeah.
because he was a very sensitive child when he was young, very, very sensitive. He was breaking in tears and like was so connecting. Like I was like carrying him 9 months inside me and then 9 months on top of me. Like he was just like that. He wouldn't just leave me. Anyway, we had very strong connection, and he was like, I don't know, like very reliant on me, that type of way. And he was very like, connection was very, very close. Like I was his safe space. And so now when he's gotten his teenage stage, he is detaching from me, which is totally normal. Yes, he's getting into his adulthood. And I can see like he's like all over the place, like emotionally, and it just, like he's just learning. He's like learning who he is and what he's in the world, things like this. And he has a lot of anger outburst. And I'm trying just, like, don't, not speak to me in this way. It's very hard because, like, I don't want to suppress him. You're not allowed to do this and that and that. And same time, I don't want to allow him too much either.
No,
so
but
we kind of both learn. Yes.
Okay. I just want to say, you know now that anger is a diversion.
Yes.
So when he come and say, "Rare" to you, you can say, "Sweetheart, what's the matter? Can we talk about this?" "No, but you always blah, blah, blah." Calm down, calm down. Don't yell. Can we talk about this? What is it? And then you just bring it back to the level where conversation can be had, because you can't have a conversation with anybody yelling, and anybody who has anger bursts. Anyone needs to learn to emotionally express themselves. But if you haven't had clear boundaries, you have not taught him clear boundaries, which means that you need to teach him that as well. And he's still a teenager. He's still, Play-Doh. So he will still copy paste. So it's just that it's fine for people to yell and to have an anger burst. You don't need to jump on it. You don't need to have an anger burst as well. You can say, I can hear you're angry. Can we talk about it? Rawr! If you're yelling, I can't hear you. Lower your voice and let's talk about it.
Sometimes when I keep him calm, like, and just like that, shush, shush, settle down, he just like, and shut down.
Yeah. Careful with that, because in that you're making him wrong.
Okay.
If you say shush, he's not allowed to express himself. So it's acknowledging, I can hear you angry. I can't speak with you when you yell. Could you lower the voice and then we talk? So it's more speak like you would talk to me, like at an adult even level. Because shush is also something you say to somebody that you wouldn't go to your boss and say shush.
Got you.
So it's about having that even conversation.
Yeah. It's very like it's him, it's just like it's so it's like this. You're like he's touching around me and I'm touching around him. It's just so yeah, that's very good point. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Doing great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did actually. I just wanted to go back to something before or earlier when you were talking about, because I love the, like, if somebody's criticizing you, having that look of like, okay, wait a minute, what is actually being criticized here, and doing the self-investigation. But the one thing I wanted to check in on is when you had said about like being ignored, and that you had this like reaction to being ignored, and then it was like, well, what is being ignored? And it's true, you can look at it from that standpoint, but it might also be bypassing something that also needs to be looked at. Because what is it that was coming up with that being ignored? Why does somebody ignoring you actually cause any sort of reaction that has to be looked into?
Because he's supposed to be nice to me.
Oh, the rules.
Were they aware of these rules? And
I actually road rolled. He's supposed to stop because obstacle was on his side.
Okay. Yep. So looking into the expectations of how things should have been and how you want them to be, and if it's bringing up something which is a deeper issue of, people always ignore me, people don't, if there's some sort of belief underneath there that's being tickled by the situation, then it might be helpful in the moment to defuse this overt reactivity, to look into, wait a minute, what's happening here? But it's not going to get to the root of why you are reactive when somebody ignores you to begin with.
So what do I do to get to the root? You just like connect with that part which feels ignored.
Yeah, feel what that is bringing up in the body.
Yeah,
And then,
really go
Yeah.
to the body. Careful with not going into the mind and
Exactly.
doing that one. Label, post it, but really go into the body and feel, how does it feel?
Yeah, and see what that brings up. You might just feeling that, you might have a flash of memories of times that you have been ignored or you have felt this sensation before, and you can start to recognize, oh, this goes back into that old belief that I have about, not being worthy of being seen, or whatever the thing happens to be. There's going to be something underneath there that keeps being touched on when somebody does that.
Very strangely now when you were talking and when you said, like might bring memory and times when you've been ignored, I was instantly here, just here and then just like, oh.
Yeah, there you go. So just looking at the fact that ignoring itself is a concept isn't really going to help get to the root of that. It's just because that's not touching this. What is it that about being ignored that brings that contraction up? Is there a fear about being ignored? Is there, some sort of hurt because, again, it's
hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's just like brushing off that type of way. Yeah, it's not that much fear. It's hard. Yeah, it's just like really just like see me.
Yeah.
Don't push me away.
So can you do the work that we, always do with going back and seeing the younger Anna when she needed to be seen, and seeing your current self the way you need to be seen? If it's really a problem that if people are ignoring you and you're not feeling seen now, how are you not seeing yourself? See in what parts you're ignoring your own needs right now. What is it that is making that seem like such an attack on you that you need to get defensive? That's an indication that there's something in you right now that needs to be looked at from that lens,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Always so good seeing you. Anything else to add to that?
No, that was beautiful.
Good.
Love that.
Thank you. All right, we will see you soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. I got it.
Leela, who was the next one?
I am the next one, and this is a
Maureen.
perfect segue. Maureen.
Maureen, we'll take
Excellent.
Maureen. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Anna just perfectly set this up because just recently I've realized that this bubble of reality, what people are reflecting to me that I need to look at. And for me, it is the same thing, not being seen, not feeling seen. And I'd never really noticed that before. All the different, it's just a very common thing that comes up. And so, of course, I recognize, well, obviously there's something I'm not seeing, but I feel at a loss for how to see myself. And I know a big part of it is the sitting with whatever feelings are coming up, which I don't seem to have taken that on to the full extent. I think the feelings are coming up stronger now, so that will make it easier to sit with it.
Good.
But I don't know. I was feeling really frustrated this morning. Like, I don't know how to see myself. It's not just about, obviously, it's not about being mindful.
No,
It's about just sitting, just detaching the thought and the label and just sitting with the feeling.
it is. And it's also, there can be some introspection and things like this. Like when we talk about seeing yourself, it can be looking into in what ways are you denying your needs now? In what ways are you routinely pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone in ways that are, you know that you should be doing something else for yourself or not doing something in a certain situation, and yet you do it because you feel like there's an obligation, or that you feel like, well, I don't really have time to I can't go to bed early enough because I have all these other things to do, or whatever it is that you're not doing for yourself. See if there are ways that you are um bypassing your own needs.
Could it, could it be something else than that? Like, if I think about, um, it's about not being seen for who I am, not being understood, or not, people not being interested to, not really knowing. And then of course, well, do I really know me? And I'm clearly not. But I there may be truth in what you're saying, Todd. But like, I don't know. I don't have obligations. I live a very comfortable, easy life, and my time is pretty much my own, and I spend a lot of it just studying this stuff and doing the things I love to do. So I'm, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I were to help you with cleaning your house out and doing and having feng shui in your entire house, then what we would start to clean out with would be all the, old newspapers and old magazines and all the tax papers that are like 15, 25 years old, and all the stuff that is easy to go to. All the towels that are full of, holes and that can be donated anyway, so it's all the easy stuff that we're going to start with. So it's the same way with seeing yourself, because Todd, he's onto something when he say that in which ways are you not seeing yourself, but we're plunging you out on the deep end by asking you that question. So it's about you starting to notice your needs, the small needs, that you're standing doing the dishes, you need to pee, and you go, I'm just finishing this cup first. That is a point where you're not seeing your need. You need to pee now. So you put down the cup and you go and pee now. It's about deciding every night at 9:30, I am in bed. And even though if you're tired or not tired, 8:30, you're in bed. It's starting in the small things, in all the small things, for you to start to notice that throughout the day, multiple times, a need is arising that is not being met. It's in all the small things where you're not seeing you. Somebody saying something, you disagree, but for the matter of keeping the peace, and it doesn't really matter to go along with it, and it's fine. It's not like you have anything against going along with it, but it's just it's okay. That was another incident. So it's all the small things that you're not seeing you, that you're not acknowledging, that right now there's a need that is not met. So we're not when Todd is asking you the question, we are plunging into the deep end of it. And it might be that you suddenly, will be in a situation in the deep end, and you clearly see, like Anna talked about, oh my goodness, I do not know how to respond to this, because now we're putting the floodlight on the issue, sitting and talking about it here, the things we are saying, the things you are hearing other people are saying, small seeds are being planted. So it might be that all of a sudden something will happen that will make it very, very clear. This is me. This is what I would like to do, and I'm not. And I have no idea how to make what I want happen.
Okay. I suppose if I knew what you were talking about, I mean, if I could say, oh yeah, there's this and this, then I wouldn't be in the situation of not.
Let's try. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Well, let's try from a different angle then. When you say you want others to see you, what is it about yourself that you feel like others are not seeing that you would like them to see?
Well, this stuff, this inquiry, this way of this journey, this interest, so for example, I have a son who I've been very close with and still am, who I'm going to be visiting in a few weeks. He lives in Africa. And but last year when I was visiting and we were sort of talking about spiritual stuff, which we have done before, and I said, you don't have to fix it. I just want to be able to express myself. And he said, well, I worry about you. And I said, and he said, I don't know that I can do that. I don't know that I can just give you the, listen, which seems so strange, but I realized in looking at all the people who I like, that's another example. I'm not feeling seen. It's not okay. My husband, who loves me dearly and will listen if I have something to say, but he's not interested. He doesn't ask. He doesn't know. He has no idea what I'm doing on this Zoom call. So there's these things that are, but my rational mind knows, well, it's okay, because that's where they're at, and it is about me being okay with my journey and not needing anybody else to I mean, how can someone see it if it's not where they're at anyway?
It's also about who you want to see it, because we see you. We're doing the journey with you. Everybody who's here at the call is in the same bus, and all of us see you. So it's
Right.
also about who you want to see you in a certain way.
And why is it that what do you want to get out of your husband and your son acknowledging you in this way? What does that change about?
Well, nothing except that it points to me, because I react to that, because I feel like I'm not being seen or heard. I'm not being given it. So that tells me there's something there for me to.
It's 4-5 Fetter. Yeah. It's the 4th and the 5th. It's about you wanting certain people to act in a certain way towards you, so you don't have to do it. It's easier if they see you and go, all the feathers have fallen. That's and then there's like the path is paved for you. That's so much easier. Because again, you're sitting in a group with people that see you. But it's
Right.
not us who you want to see you. It's them you want to see you, because they need to be in a certain, things in a certain way, understand and see you in a certain way. And it's only because then there's something that is making something that where you think life will be easier for you.
Well, I think now that I've become aware of how this pattern repeats itself, and I'm aware that it's about me and it's about me not seeing me,
Yeah.
that really is where my interest is. This is what I want. I want some suggestions which you've given about being aware in the day-to-day of where my needs aren't being met. And
Exactly.
so what about the sitting with the feelings, which I know I don't do?
Yeah.
That is
That
incredibly
was
important.
exactly what I wanted to say. But
Incredibly
you go first.
Oh, I was just going to say, and that's why I asked what you actually would like to get from your husband and your son in terms of their validation of you and your experience with all this stuff, because I think that can be pointing the direction that you need to look for your own benefit. That if I need my husband to say these words to make me feel like he sees me, what are those words, and does it do anything when you say them to yourself? Is there something that's pointing to, which is showing you the way that you actually need to be seen by yourself? Is it
I mean, at this point, I don't need anybody else to do anything. I need to do this for myself.
Yes, you do. I'm not denying that at all. But if there's a feeling there that I need to be seen, then you have to. We don't want to bypass that and skip past it and say, well, I don't need it. I know I don't need it. I need to do it for myself. Use this as the tool to say that there's a feeling there of needing to be seen by somebody else, and I'm going to use that as the test to kind of see what I actually need. You know, where is the deficiency in my self view or the way that I want to be seen? And you see that by seeing what you want from other people.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean you actually need them from the other people.
Right. I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's very important to take it from the mind and into the body, so it's felt. Because
Yes.
the reason why you feel that you're not being seen by others is because there's a felt experience of that. So it's not about oh, my husband, I can see that now in my head, I understand that now, or all the people in the group, I understand that now. No, it needs to be felt, because the wound is there because it was felt once, and it needs to be healed now by being felt.
Right. So like I was on a hike this morning and I was feeling a feeling, but I didn't really, I mean, it was there. I didn't sit and stop and tune into it. I was, can I be in a body that's feeling this discomfort? But I don't tend to, like, can I feel the feeling in the middle of a situation, or do I need to bring it back up again in my room alone and work with it then?
It's always in our lives, we always bring it up right when it's there, because that's when it's most alive, and that is where there's where the vulnerability is highest. So it's also where you can be met the most.
So but you're on the same page with each other. How can are you suggesting, if it's, so this morning, for instance, I was with my husband and was helping me pack for this trip, and I was getting frustrated because he had a plan and I wasn't quite on board yet. And so so what would you do in that situation? Stop and feel the feeling and communicate to him that I'm.
Yes, I would, if the situation was the same and Todd had a plan about how I should do things and I felt uncomfortable with it, and I felt, that stressy feeling that happens when you can feel other people have expectation about things about you in a certain way and you're afraid that you can't meet it, there's this flutter happening, then I
Mm.
would say, just a moment, just a moment. And then I would just, hold his hand or had that close body contact. And then I would say, just a moment, I can feel something, it doesn't feel nice. And then I would say, I'm afraid that you have expectation that I can't meet. And I don't know with your husband, but if you say to him, I'm afraid you have expectation that I can't meet, that he will say, nonsense. Most people would. Nonsense. Whatever you're feeling, in brackets, whatever you're feeling is not correct. I have no expectation. That's not anything. But it's more about you making you aware that there's something happening. You can either say it out loud if you have that relationship with your husband, or you can just say it to yourself. Right now, I feel nervous and edgy by him having expectations to me.
Okay, I think this is very helpful.
And then know that it's not about his expectations. It's about you wanting to please the expectations you think he has about you. Because if you're okay with it, he can have he can expect me to fly by next weekend. And I know that, sweetheart, it's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. So it's about you having a fear of not being able to meet his expectations that you think he has to you.
Mm.
It's not even about his expectations.
Mm.
It's about what you project onto him that you're afraid you can't meet for him. That is second fetter.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if that's what it's about, but I do think it would be really helpful if I do stop in the midst of the rising sensation and acknowledge it for myself and acknowledge it to him. I mean, he will be fine. And yeah, I think that's certainly will be helpful. All right.
I just wanted to throw in one more thing too, just something to investigate, because this may or may not be the thing. But when going back to the about being seen and validated by somebody else, check to see if also the reason why you feel like you need that to be seen again, even by yourself, is if there's actually a feeling of doubt or the need of reassurance about the thing. Because it might be that, there's genuinely just something which isn't being seen, but there might also be, when we're talking about this stuff or something else, a doubt about, am I where I think I am? Is there some sort of hold up where you actually want the validation from outside because it's going to reinforce your sense of how you think you see yourself, and there's some sort of wishy-washiness about that. So it might actually be something that needs to be investigated in terms of, is there some sort of conflict, some doubt and conflict inside that could be seen.
Okay. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
And was it Gita now? What is the sequence?
I don't see her hand up anymore.
No, but
there she is.
yeah, but I don't know if
It's Yvonne.
it's Yvonne and then Gita.
The Gita keeps putting her hand up and down. She changes her mind.
Are you still up for it, Gita?
So she's yeah.
Gita, do you want to go now?
Yeah, I would, but mainly because I feel very uncomfortable in talking in the public. So that's mainly why I'm going to go on now. Yeah.
Just need to read
I'm
it.
so afraid that I'm not going to explain myself, so it's going to be hard to understand where I'm going. But the thing is this, that I've spent a lifetime on bypassing my feelings in the body, so it's very difficult. So nothing comes up. And I have this work situation. I'm from Denmark, and I live in Italy. So I've been working alone for like 20 years, and now I'm working in a kitchen with men. And there's this cook, and it's been quite difficult to enter this kitchen because he doesn't know how to communicate. So I understood from the very beginning that speaking or asking or trying to say that something wasn't right would be like an attack on him, and I don't know how to. I didn't know how to get around that. So my plan has been to just say yes and do everything that he asked me to do, and then after some time he would see that the work I do is fine, and then that was my plan, and it's gone very well. There's a very friendly tone now, but then the first problem kicked in, which is that he's touching. He just passed me and touch all the time, and I don't like that because I just don't like it. But I'm not. I haven't been in conflict on how to communicate this, because in my mind I have this history that he's very aggressive if I should say it. So I've tried. So I've put that aside and made it okay. But then the next problem comes up, because this friendly tone makes it's like you cannot, if we are friends and I can't say to you, I've made this story, if you do something that's not right. So it's like a simple thing. I was going to make this cake, and then he did something on the machine, which was like, if you bake a cake and you make the machine go keep on going, then the cake doesn't turn out because it's overworked. But I can just in my head, I cannot say to him that he shouldn't do that, because I couldn't say. But I can, in my mind, I acknowledge that it's a problem, that I'm not saying that I can. My mind says it's a problem. I don't feel it in the body that it's a problem. It's a mind thing. And then when we've been on this meeting tonight, I was trying to write down what the problem was in my head with the thoughts to come to a reaction. And I think I came to understand that the problem is that I don't stand up for myself. And I can relate to that. So I think the solution would be that I should stay with what comes up with this this recognition of what's going on. So if the problem is my mind is saying that the problem is I don't stand up for myself, and I sit with that, I expect some feeling will come up in the body. But I think I have to go for some time around a logic approach to what is going on, because my body just doesn't come up with anything. It just bypasses, and I don't feel anything. Is that?
Oh yeah, there's so many things. There's so many things. I can recommend everybody, men and women, reading the book called Misogynation, which is about systemic misogyny, where there's so many, as women, I mean, the situation you're sitting and describing, I do not think there's a single woman here who has not experienced her boundary being crossed by a man. And the man is not aware that he's doing it, because it's so normal and natural, and yet he wouldn't, rub himself up against Frank.
No.
Yeah. So it's like there is a selection process happening, but everybody are not oblivious to that selection process. And if you say something, you are the bitch. So that's the first thing I want to say. A way that you can take all this and help yourself see things clearly It's I made in the post that I did on Monday about boundaries. There's a list of books, and I can recommend you to read all of them, because it helps you to see that you're not the only one with this problem, and that you're completely fine by speaking up, and you're completely fine by saying no. And I know that for your entire life, it has been easier just to move things up to the head so you don't feel the disgust and the shame and the guilt and all of that is present in the body. That's the misogyny part of it. The other thing I would like to say is, and that is both for men and for women, that it's really, really difficult to deal with bullies. And a bully is anyone where you cannot openly say, oh, turn the machine off, otherwise the cake is going to be overdone. And you know, if you do that, you know, first of all, the cake is going to be ruined. He's right now standing and ruining the cake. Second of all, you know you can't say anything, because if you do, he will rip your head off. And that's because he's a bully. And it's really, really difficult to deal with bullies. If he's the boss at the job, you need to find another job, because it's never going to change. If he's not, then you can talk to somebody above you, because he's not treating you only like that. Unless he is, and we're back to misogyny again, and Frank can say, oh, turn the machine off, and he just turns the machine off. Then we're back to misogyny, and then, we're a bit in circles.
I think the situation is okay. I can go to work without being in any danger, and it's okay, because they
yeah,
it's okay. But it just
I have to stop you, because would you put your daughter in the same position? She comes to you and say, he's touching me, and he's touching my body without any permission. Would you say, but sweetheart, you're not in danger, go back to work?
Of course not.
Okay. So
I can do it.
Yeah, I would just like for you to think about that one. That why are you supposed to, accept something if you wouldn't put your daughter in that position? If you wouldn't put your daughter in the position, you know there's something wrong. And that means that you have a body reaction. It's not a mind reaction, it's a body reaction. But right now you're putting a lid on it, because the consequences are too big to deal with. Because right now you're sitting and blaming the victim. You're talking about that he's crossing my boundaries, and I need to find a way to stand up for myself and all of that. You're putting everything on you. Yeah, you're putting everything on you. He has boundary issues. He's a bully.
Yeah.
It's not on you. It's not on you. It's not your fault. You're not a magnet. It's not your fault.
It's really weird, because I've never thought about it that way. I was just going on, what can I do in this situation? What is it showing me? How can I never thought about what you're saying now.
If Frank is not going to work, concerned about being, grappled, what do you call it? Groped.
Grappled?
Grappled. That is grappled. When the fingers do like that, you're grappled. Grope is like that. Grappled is like that. If Frank is not concerned about going to work and being groped, then it's it's because of your gender, and it's not okay. And it's not you who need to work on your boundaries. You do, but this thing about your job, it's not okay, and it's not something that you should just learn to get used to, because the body keeps the score. You might not be aware that your body knows, but your body reacted when I talked about your daughter in the same position, and your body reacted to that. So you might not be aware that your body is reacting, but I sat in USA and noticed how your body reacted in Italy. So it's loud. It is loud. You're just not listening. Leela put lovely Lila put a lot of links into the comment section. It's Laura Bates who has written the books, and she has amazing talks, which I can recommend you to listen to. And the reason why it's important to listen to the talks, it's to get used to that this is a topic, you know, that we need to talk about. It's something that all of us need to become aware of, because otherwise we will keep, you know, I need to work on my boundaries. It's also okay. And, you know, he was recently divorced and all of that. So it's something that really helps when you hear other women telling the same story. We could do a 5-hour meeting now where all of us share all of the stories we have had. It's not isolated to you in Italy.
No, it's just that it would be easier if I was in Denmark, because it's the whole country which is like this.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's I mean, the whole toxic masculinity thing is because a lot of guys, they have daddy issues. They have never learned how it is to be, you know, a man in the world. Do you want to say something? I'm pointing at you now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that was incredible. It is such a difficult kind of nuanced situation as far as being there, and I know I've never been to Italy, but I definitely know the stereotypes, and it does sound like the. I think it's, well, no, because I agree with what you say, that it's where we really have to be careful about not using this stuff as a way to just make ourselves doormats and able to, you know, put up with all sorts of toxic situations that we shouldn't be in. So it's really important to recognize when you are in a situation that you just need to find some way to extract yourself from, as opposed to being just able to be okay with it for the time being.
Yeah. What would you say is the best? Do now I am the misogynist here when I'm, you know, gender pointing you out as a man and expecting you to say something.
No, I was actually putting it underneath.
Oh, sorry.
Like...
Okay. Because I think, yeah, I think because I have been in similar situations over and over and over and over and over, I'm not, how can I say it? I'm not completely free in answering it. Yeah, I can tell how I have sorted the issues, but
that's the thing. I mean, we do have major issues of the power dynamics.
yeah.
And I think, like when you said that, you know, he wouldn't brush up against Frank because, you know, but there are cases where it's actually, guys are so touchy-feely and handsy that he probably would, or maybe would even rub up against Frank, except he's worried about Frank punching him. And so there's like a power dynamic there that keeps things under control, where if he feels like he can get away with it with you, then he's going to do it to somebody else who he maybe doesn't feel like, you know. So who knows what's going on in his head, if it is a bullying issue, if it is, well, I have no idea who he is.
No,
so,
but the bully issue is the moment that somebody is reacting with anger and controlling other people with anger, with that anger, so nobody is addressing him because he is reacting with anger. That's bullying.
Yeah. But I have no idea what's going on in him that's causing any of this behavior. And so, you know,
but that's not really relevant either. Well, I'm
just thinking in how to deal with it. It all comes down to, you have a person who is unhealthy to be around at this point, because
it's I would say, I obviously don't know about your position at work, but I would say if there's somebody there, I know Italy is not that big on HR, but if
no, it's very difficult to get a job in Italy. Very, very, very difficult. And there's mostly fabrics, and I don't want to work in a fabric because I just can't. And so it's very difficult. And the owner knows the situation. Everybody knows the situation. So
Nobody does anything. Yeah.
you can't do anything. But
One of the situations where self-development really doesn't help.
No. No, it really doesn't. Because you need it, yeah.
well, I couldn't say anything to him because he would be answering with aggressivity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't got anything regarding awakening and non-duality and all of that. I haven't got anything to say because it's not the round to sort it out.
No.
No,
It's about you being you're unsafe in your workplace, and you need support. You need somebody to help you out where you are.
but in really my question was, this was the story, that this was where I work, and I didn't know how to sort out him touching me, and then the next thing came up where I realized that I can't say anything if he's doing something that he shouldn't be doing. So I've left the thing about him touching. It was to explain how the work situation was.
Yeah.
And
But
talking about.
But it's the same thing because he's a bully.
Yeah.
It's a toxic environment. It's like asking how my husband is a narcissist. He's completely gaslighting me. How can I be okay with that?
Mm.
And you can't, because you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. A toxic environment is a toxic environment. I'm drinking bleach. I'm really feeling very sick when drinking bleach. How can I feel better about drinking bleach?
Well, I thought that I could just sit with acknowledge what he brought up in me, and
no, because if we do, you are in a toxic situation.
yeah,
You're in a toxic situation. You're not supposed to be okay with it. You're supposed to protect yourself. You're
yeah,
supposed to remove yourself from the situation. Do not stand in the middle of the motorway. Do
no.
not drink bleach. You're supposed to put the seatbelt on. Take a bike ride with a helmet. You're supposed to do all these things.
It's really weird because it's as if I've never acknowledged when I've put myself in situations
Yes.
situations like this.
Yeah.
Never thought of it of being someone else. I've always seen it as me being wrong. So
and that is second fetter, because that is victim talking.
mm-mm.
Right now you're blaming the victim.
Yeah,
You're in a toxic situation and you're blaming yourself for not dealing with the toxic situation.
yeah,
What we're saying is that there's no dealing with it. Get away. Stop drinking bleach.
yeah.
And I think the only thing I would say in this regard on the situation is just to do as much of the work as you can to be able to get really clear about your internal bodily sensations, so that you have absolute clarity that this is not where I'm supposed to be and something needs to happen, so that you're really clear.
And then also what you also can work with what we're doing is working with the fear. If I am not putting up with sexual abuse, then I will be out of a job. So I better have to. That low self-worth, that blaming the victim, look into where that comes from, because you've been taught that from a very, very young age.
Yeah.
Not feeling into the body, that's very, very old. But we're not recommending you to do it in order to stay put in a toxic situation. It's about you getting that, and it's also why I suggest you to look up Laura Bates. Hear as many talks as you can, so you get that feeling of empowerment.
Yeah.
Because blaming the victim
Definitely.
is not what we are recommending at all. Being a doormat, not where we want to go.
No.
Well, it's a good thing I said it anyway, because I have absolutely no feeling in the body, but I listen to what you say. I'm going to listen to it again.
Yeah.
To recognize what the situation is about. So thank you.
Yeah, and then it's the thing you said about it's so difficult to get job in Italy. There's only factory work. I don't want to work in a factory. that is an illusion. That's not true. There are work in Italy where you're not groped. You know, they do exist. You know, but you have created a scenario where they don't exist, and you have to stick up with this, and that is second fetter. That's from the toxic starting point. That is old, and that you can work with, but it's not to work with it to put up with groping and bullying and toxic behavior.
No.
No. Got it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for raising and not raising your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having the courage to actually speak in public.
Yeah.
So,
I'm very proud of myself.
you should
Yeah,
be.
you should be. You should be. On behalf of all women that are listening to this, thank you so much. And men.
And
men.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next?
Is it Yvonne next?
Yvonne.
Yes.
Hello,
It's like a
Yvonne.
voice from the sky that is coming. You know,
Yvonne.
so funny.
It's Yvonne.
Yvonne.
Is that Yvonne? Because I think there might be another Yvonne.
No, it's you.
It's you, Yvonne, with the
I
hand.
think there is another one possibly, but I can't see everybody here, but it's not you.
She left early.
Oh, I'm so sorry, babe. Speaking of toxic environments and masculine.
We witnessed the sexual abuse.
I know, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm glad I got the.
I
I'm
picked
glad
your
I got
nose
the kiss.
without permission earlier. I picked your nose without permission. I felt
Violating
so
each
bad.
other's boundaries all over the place.
I felt so bad after I put my finger on your nose.
First time, let's be honest.
No, I know, but there was no warning. Normally there's a warning.
You like sensed your way up. It was like a gentle approach. I knew it was coming.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
And the bunk is because your arms are so long.
They are.
Yeah, so you don't know what is happening at the end of it.
Sorry, Yvonne. We'll have it
No,
together.
I enjoyed it. I'm glad I got the kisses going on.
There we go. Okay.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I just need to readjust.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I did have two things I wanted to talk about, but when you was talking about boundaries, it just seems that it's so nice. Lovely.
So sorry. My arms are they have a mind of their own today.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I've been in the gym. The muscles are just like
You're getting so buff.
I'm so buff. I just
Oh.
Okay, go on.
Oh, I love seeing your love. Yes, I had two things I wanted to talk about, but then when earlier you started talking about boundaries, and I think possibly that just felt so. I haven't got any. I don't think I've got any boundaries, and talking about I don't know, putting your own needs, ignoring your own needs. I think I've got no boundaries, and I think I ignore my own needs. I can't say no. No, I can't say no. It's awful. And I don't know where it began. It must have begun with my mum. I don't know. But it's quite, I think it's quite serious in this life here. And because I could do as much non-duality and
Yes,
dropping the me and all of that as much as I like. But if I can't say no,
boundaries is a big one. Yeah, boundaries is a big one. The lesson that came up Monday, where I talk very, very specifically about boundaries, it's supposed to be one that you guys come back to over and over and over until it's really chiseled into your mind where I am and what is okay and what is not okay. Just like I said with the boundaries between, the borders between two countries, that it needs to be that clear that it's not even said anymore where the boundary and where the border is. It's just where it is, and there's no overreaction, and there's no, anybody putting a tent up on your lawn or eating your fries from your plate, or anything of that. It's just very, very clear, putting the finger up your nose. It's just that very, very clear of where you are, and that is respected. But it needs to be, and it's an inside job.
An inside job indeed, and I don't know where. Whoa, I don't know where to begin. I expect probably at the next needing to say no, but each time,
Yeah.
each time, somebody asks me,
What is it you're afraid of will happen if you say no, just randomly?
Yeah.
Somebody asks you something and you're fine with doing it, and you say no just to practice it.
Oh,
What happens in your body? What?
It's horrible. I think I'll be decimated or something. I don't know how to say no.
But and yet right now you're sitting with your hands up and pushing us away. There's a boundary. Do not talk to me about that. Don't do that. Don't talk to me about that. So you are in contact with a boundary. It's just crossed so many times that it's very, very close, and you cannot even say no to things that you actually can do. And so therefore I'm provoking you by saying somebody's asking you to help out with something, you can do it, and you say no. How does that feel? And you immediately feel it in your body, which means that it's that there's some things. There's some things that you are very clear about, that you don't want and that you do not accept, and there are other things that you're not clear about. So I would start writing down all the things that you are very, very clear about. What's the lesson? The third feather lesson. No, sorry, the sixth feather lesson, where I talk about boundaries, because I'm talking about 3 different types of boundaries. And it's a good idea to take your notebook, write down the things that am I okay with somebody just going into my purse? No, I'm not. Am I okay with somebody putting a lounge chair on my lawn? No, I'm not. First, taking all those, am I okay with somebody standing too close to me? I feel uncomfortable, but I'm not saying anything in the supermarket, let's say. So start exploring the outer boundary first, and then take the psychological boundary. That's the next one. That's how you speak to yourself, how the other people speak to you. So write down all the things that you're very, very clear about, so because all the things you're not clear about are usually the ones that you're not aware of.
Yeah. I don't think I am clear.
No,
exactly. At all. Also, it means also, because it seemed to be connected, the fact that not being worthy, not seeing my own needs. There must be a very deep connection with not being able to say no and not seeing my own needs.
Yes. And that's the third feather I would like for you to circle back to. Watch again. There are a list of 10 things, self-care for non-self, the 10 things that needs to be sorted out, where you very clearly feel your own needs and you meet your own needs.
It's quite interesting, really, because I am, in a way, right now, sort of homeless. And I'm awaiting my bypass operation for my heart. So I'm having to stay with my eldest son in the house at the bottom of the garden that's not insulated all through the winter. But they invite me in, but I know I'm giving them space, but I put up with it. And now I've been house sitting for a friend, and then I know they don't want me back because they're going through some hellish times. My granddaughter's got serious anorexic problems, won't eat, and my daughter-in-law's mother's also just died. So they want me to give them space, even though I don't knock on their door. I keep keeping my own space. So I'm also dealing with not feeling rejected. I don't feel rejected, but I don't know what it is that I feel about that.
No,
So
is it okay if I just say something about that? And you're not gonna like this.
oh, please, I like not liking it. It's good.
Okay, good. When you completely clear know that I do not have any boundaries, and people are trespassing my boundaries all the time, then you are aware of that there is a lack of boundaries. I don't know where they are, but I know that I'm being, violated all the time by not saying no. But the thing is that you're not only a victim, you're also a perpetrator. Because if you do not know where boundaries are, you do not know where other people's boundaries are. So when you say, I'm living in the bottom of the garden, and I'm not even knocking on the door, I just know for you just telling me that you don't know where your boundaries are, you do not know where their boundaries are, which means you have disrespected their boundaries multiple times to the point that they now ask you not to be there because they can't deal with that right now.
No. And yet I don't feel I have, but I must have
I know,
done.
but how could you, sweetheart? How could you? You don't know where a boundary is.
No.
You
But
don't know where a boundary is. So
wow.
it's compassion.
Yeah.
Compassion, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm now going up to another son's, and we're staying there. So I'm trying to make as little of myself as possible, but I'm awaiting a heart operation. It's like, and really, I've got a house in France, and I can't go. Well, it's too far to go now because of this operation that's going to happen. So the long story about having the mini stroke, and they're finding the heart problem. But now the partner that I've tried to leave for the last 3 years, who's got the only house I've got is in France, which I decided to go and live there and look after him because he's lost his memory. And he's got COPD, so he can't breathe.
And he's living in your house He's living in your house in France. Yeah.
It's between us. We bought it as was a holiday house, but because of Brexit and stuff, long story again. But so, and I say,
That's fine.
yes, the boundaries. And I say, oh, I might come back and spend some time there. And he's going, no, not yet, because I'm told by my friends that the house is in such a mess. I've not been there for a year and a half because of my medical problem. And apparently the house is in such an awful mess because he's very untidy, but he's also not cleaned it. And my friends say, you can't go back there. You can't live in there. It's awful. And then him say, oh, I got to clean it up. Don't come back yet. So I'm thinking, oh, okay. I'm fucking homeless. Yeah. And like I'm doing my non-duality, really working on stuff. And I can't say I want to say to my sons, I want to say to my son who I've been staying with, look, I'm really, really trying my best. I'm really looking at everything, but then they're not looking at what they're doing.
It's so amazing when we know what other people are doing and not doing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, of course, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for listening, because
it's lots of, it's like boundaries, all of it. I really would recommend you to take a notebook, start to write down, because what your mind is doing, and when you see the recording of this afterwards, what your mind is doing is going in loops. And a way to help you out with that is to become aware of those loops. And then you know the curriculum by now. So you know where to look for it. Oh, this is the second fetter. This is my toxic starting point. This is about me trying to play it small, be as least as possible. I'm going to work with that. And then you work with that. And this is about boundaries. Then you go to the sixth fetter, and then you work. So work your way through it. You have all the material and you know where to look. but you need to write it down, to write it out where things are. Otherwise, the mind is taking you for a ride.
I mean, I think I'm doing quite well, really, considering my situation.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I have to keep
Absolutely.
sort of saying, "Come on, darling, you're doing really well.
You're doing well. Yes.
You're managing not to react. You're managing not to feel
Yes.
sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things I am managing. Oh, something just came up then.
Yeah.
A message. So I have to. No, I don't have to do anything. But yeah, I do have to.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So good seeing you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I can hardly believe that, but you know, that's another.
I know.
Well, it's
That's
still for us, it's still nice to see you. Whether you
Yeah.
believe it or not, it's got nothing to do with our experience, does it?
Nothing. No,
No.
right.
So we're really happy to see you.
And I'm really
Yes.
happy to see you too.
Good.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of boundaries, I need a moment to readjust things because
Okay.
I'm like in the gap between the couch thing
can't
and
have that.
my leg is totally numb. Hold on a second. Also, I need to just check and see what time my session is so that I know what time we have to.
I think it is 3:30.
Is it?
Yeah.
Let me just double check really quickly.
Yeah, sure. Could you push it in over there? No,
Yes.
yeah.
There we go.
See, there we go. So the next one was that Angela. Just get you. Hello, let me just get you in here. Hello, my friend. Good to see you.
Hello. I did the same thing last time as Geeta did. Geeta? Is it Geeta?
It's yeah.
Putting my hand up, putting it down, putting my hand up, putting it down. I just find it so confronting. I mean, forget what my issue is. Not without, anyway, sorry, I'm going to try. A load of the time, I have a really feeling into the senses is good, and I feel very overwhelmed and excited about it. Like I like it most when it's quite full on, you know. So sometimes I'll be on the tube in London, and when it's really screechy and really overwhelming, and I feel loud noises and everything penetrating me, I feel like, you know, it's amazing, you know, disappearing into sensation. But then other times when I don't seem to be able to feel anything, and I know what's happening is when I was young, I had quite a few years of sort of disassociation, and I wasn't doing schoolwork, I wasn't talking to anyone, I was just as what I could sort of consider, I felt like I was sort of walking around dead. It was from very young, like 7 until 11, you know, and then I sort of discovered drugs and alcohol, and I was doing something else. So these times when I can't feel anything, it's like that. And I don't know, obviously I'm thinking, like I must be selfing a lot, but I don't feel like I am. I feel like nothing's happening, I'm just dead. And I don't know what to do with it. And I try and just do simple breathing, feeling my breath. I can't stay with it. I can't, you know, and it just reminds me of this disassociation that used to happen.
Yeah. Are you on the spectrum?
I don't know. No, I don't think so.
No, it's because I'm asking. I'm autistic, and I'm asking. Yeah, and I'm asking because it's two different answers. Whether you're neurotypical or whether you're autistic, it's two different answers.
Okay. Well, I don't. No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that I was initially so sensitive because there was quite a lot of aggression at home that I shut down. Where have you gone?
Okay.
There you are. That I just turned off.
Yeah.
And I think it's trying to. So I think it's just trying to be sensitive again because I've lost it, and I've lost it. Like I'm old now, and so. Trying to discover how to be sensitive, and I really was very sensitive. Like I was very obsessed with older people and isolated, sad older people, and I was very obsessed with death, like consumed with death, and and then just kind of dead.
Yeah. It sound, I mean, yeah, it can be a million things.
Mm.
If it's not about you being on the spectrum, but it's about you having trauma, then I would recommend you, you know, to find a good therapist and to work with the second fetter, because the second fetter is about all of those underlying beliefs that we have about, for example, you have an underlying belief about it's unsafe to feel the body. I'm pointing at Gita while I'm saying that there's like this underlying belief about it's unsafe to feel the body. To just go into non-duality and into awakening and work with the fetters about, you know, there is no I, there's no body, it's completely fine. That would be bypassing an issue that needs to be heard. If you have had experiences as a child, traumatic experiences as a child, that needs to be heard. It needs to be seen and it needs to be felt. So you need a therapist that is going, not only talking about it from the mind perspective, but who is really embodying the experience. And that is what we're doing with the curriculum in the second fetter. It's very much about you feeling in your body. So realizing I feel unsafe when I'm in my body. Okay, then you try to sit with feeling unsafe. Can you be in a body that feels unsafe? And then you slowly look into, do inquiries about how does it feel? There's contraction here. I'm hyperventilating. My hands are clammy. And then you allow to see what does it feel right now to be in a body that feels unsafe. So you slowly expand the experience, but it needs to be felt. Because understanding with your mind is not leading you anywhere. It's a trap.
When there are feelings, I'm fine, and I have done a lot of therapy, and I have done, you know, a lot of psychedelic therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of, like, I've had breakdown that came out much better. No longer obsessed with death, so I can feel. So I enjoy feeling the nervousness. Like, I feel quite nervous now. I'm okay, you know, but it's just really uncomfortable, and I feel vulnerable. I feel naked. You know, I'm okay, but it's when there's nothing. You know, sometimes there's nothing. There's no feeling. There's no pain. I want pain. There's nothing. I'm looking for it. There's nothing, and then I go off into the head.
But stay in the body. When you're there, stay in the body. What is the problem with nothing? What is that reminding you of?
It's the emptiness of childhood. It's the emptiness of the disassociation.
That is what you need to sit with.
But I know this is a terrible word, but it's so boring.
Well, boredom itself, though, is a reaction to something. We're only bored if there's something there that's uncomfortable that we don't want to sit with. You could sit in a room for 10 hours looking at a wall and feel no boredom at all if there's like absolute equanimity with everything that arises. Or you could sit for like 3 minutes and be ready to jump out of the chair and scream because you feel so bored. But that boredom is just a reaction to something that feels irritating.
It's a diversion away from what is.
Exactly. So,
like you always talk about that study.
Yeah. They I don't know if you've seen, there was that study that they did where they put people in a room with absolutely no sensory stimulants except for a button which they could push to give themselves an electric shock. And the crazy thing is that people, in a short amount of time, the majority of them will start to shock themselves rather than actually having to sit there with, you know, in a blank room with no entertainment and no distractions from feeling what they're feeling. And thinking what they're thinking.
And then what we are saying is that whatever they're thinking, whatever they're feeling, that feeling of boredom, that staying with the body, seems to be more painful than shocking themselves.
Exactly.
And that's why they shock themselves. So when you say,
I can totally imagine doing that.
Huh?
I feel like I've done that my whole life.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an interesting thing where you know, with doing this sort of thing and seeing through self and all of that, there is a weird parallel with like depersonalization, derealization disorder. So sometimes we can have experiences where we feel kind of depersonalized and sort of um, uh, dissociated. And some people can take that to be like a really, you know, oh, I must be seeing through self. I must be having some awakening thing. But a lot of times it does come from trauma and stress. I used to have growing up, and actually it continued really for most of my life, occasional bouts where in certain social situations I would basically dissociate and be like, watching it felt very much like a no self kind of state, which I learned later, where words are coming out of the mouth, but there's like having no control over the words and recognizing in that moment that I have no idea what's coming out and feeling like the difference I think between that kind of state and the sort of awakening state is that there was like an anxiety and a self-consciousness about the first kind of dissociated state where it's like I don't feel anything, but I'm also kind of freaked out about being out of control, and it's almost like being a passenger in an out of control ship or bus. As opposed to the awakened version where you just recognize that there's just a bus that's running without a driver, but it's okay. You know, it's like there's no problem with that. So yeah.
So what is the resistance to
I
sit
don't
with?
know. It's blank. It's just a blankness that I have. And I'm obviously identifying with it because it's a story that is from when I grew up. And so I'm carrying it around, you know, and it was, you know, it was this fear of death probably, but I don't have and I was obsessed, really obsessed, you know, it wasn't something I thought about death all the time, really young, morbidly. I don't have that anymore. I'm not worried about it. It's just this blankness, and I don't know what the feeling is. It's just nothing. And then I try and go to my breath because if there's something to work with, that would be great.
No, that is a diversion. Going in with the breath, that is a diversion. I would like for you to sit with the blankness. Sit with the blankness, sit with the quietness. Don't go into the thoughts, don't go into the breath. Just sit and notice what is happening in the body. And there's like nothing and nothing and nothing.
And I'm also curious though, in that moment when it feels blank and there's nothing, what is going on in these sort of the felt selfing space? Like where, do you know what I'm saying? Like, is it just that there's no physical sensation in the body? Like there's just nothing there, but is the mental track still going as normal?
I think it's probably there's depression. I think it's probably, I don't know whether that's the right sort of nihilism, some kind of detachment that's so I don't care, or you know, just some kind of complete lack of anything.
Yeah. The problem is that nihilism really isn't that. It comes forth as this idea about absolutely there's nothing and nothing matters or any of that, but it's actually a kind of sad, depressed reaction to wanting something to be there, wanting there to be a meaning, and then feeling like there's not. And it's not that kind of like okayness with, oh yeah, there's no meaning of life. Huh, cool. It's not that. It's like I really want there to be
a lot of meaning is being put into there not being a meaning.
That's it, exactly. And so we create that meaning out of the fact that it's meaningless, but it becomes a sort of negative, depressed version of it where I wanted there to be something, there's not, and damn it, that means something, you know, and so if you notice that it's that sort of thing, that can only come with a whole lot of thought. There's, you know, that's not just a neutral state in the body that just doesn't feel anything. That's a thought train of I wanted something to be here. There's not, even that I don't care is such a reaction to not wanting to feel what's here, because what is here, even if you don't feel it, it's really uncomfortable.
It's like a spoiled child.
Exactly.
I want more, and it's just not.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like as a child, you really want that triple scoop chocolate ice cream, but they only had vanilla, and your mother will only let you get 1 scoop. So instead, you throw it on the floor so that you don't have any. It's like that kind of, that sort of spite reaction of, and it's coming from that place of just, I am so uncomfortable in my body right now. This isn't what I want. No. And just reacting that way. So being aware of all that as it's happening. And then, as Pernille has said multiple times, being with, even if you can't feel the body, even if it feels like just this uncomfortable blankness, be with that discomfort and see what comes out of that. Because if there's nothing there, it's really curious that the absence of something can feel uncomfortable.
Mm.
So I'm curious in your situation, why it feels uncomfortable to not feel anything. If you're truly not feeling anything, why is that uncomfortable?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. It's what it feels like to not feel anything, and I'm sure. I think I said before, I'm selfing like something, but I just don't know. I'm not. It's not. There are other times when I feel I'm present, like something else. I know something else is not going on, and I'm clueless. The other thing that I didn't mention was that I sort of had a moment of realization about my job, and I decided to give it up and go back to another job. And then I was like, no, this is landfill as well. And I'm not saying, I wasn't making judgment. I just felt it was empty. And so now I've taken everything that was filling my space out. And so it is empty. I'm not distracting myself as much at the moment, including work. And so I think I'm quite triggered. I'm easily triggered by this. No. Anyway, I will just keep investigating.
Yeah. It's just a matter of coming at it with curiosity and really being okay with being uncomfortable for a bit while you're investigating these things. And notice anything that keeps trying to eject you out of that discomfort. Even if it's something like you said, like, okay, well, now I'm going to try watching my breath and do this. Like, even if it's something that seems like it's under the guise of meditation, doing something really nice for yourself, even just the thought about, yeah, I don't know, I don't think this is working, or, anything that comes up is a reaction and a distraction to keep you from feeling that sensation. Just be straight with the sensation, with nothing, no intermediaries. If you see other thoughts coming up that aren't sensation based, just let them float past and just keep coming back to sensation and see what arises out of that.
I mean, I do know what, thinking about it, what does come up, and that's fear. And that's because it went on for so long, and I was young. So, it was a big portion of my life. I started when I was about 7 and went on until, I was a teenager. And so I'm scared of just going back. I'm scared that's who I am and going back there.
Yeah.
This is why we do all of the reparenting stuff and recommend going back to a 7-year-old and consoling her and reassuring her and sending her the love and changing the emotional state in that moment, because you're changing it now in this moment. And the reassuring that you don't have to be living in a state of perpetual fear, and that feeling something in the body does not equate to something dangerous.
And not feeling anything in the body is not dangerous either.
Exactly.
And if fear comes up, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the next chapter.
Yeah. Let us know how it
Whatever
goes.
comes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. You okay?
Yes.
Lisa.
Lisa, yay.
Hello.
Hello.
How have you been?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
all over the map, and gratefully so. I love lots of content coming up because it just gives me some stuff to play around with. And I just want to tell y'all, oh my God, how much I appreciate you guys. I mean, it's
Thank
bringing
you.
tears to my eyes. Y'all are doing such fabulous work, and
You.
this Fetter 6 stuff, Pernille, oh my gosh. This is really, I'm starting to see, I had no idea Fetter 6 was about boundaries. Holy crap. And it is really unearthing some
Yeah.
stuff. So I have a kind of a short little story I'd love to tell, and it's also has a question at the end about the boundary thing. And it's about a friend I've had for a number of years, a gentleman who's actually the husband of a close friend. And for years we've had this strange sensation. I've had this strange sensation in my relationship with him of kind of a push-pull thing, of like feeling like I want him to see that I'm making spiritual advancements, feeling like I think he thinks he knows stuff, feeling like I think I don't know stuff or that I do know more than him. Just this whole big push-pull thing for years. And more recently, I mean, but we're friends, right? It's not like we ever talk about that. I just feel it in me.
Yeah.
And recently, I try, because so much curiosity is coming up around stuff that feels like that,
Yeah.
knowing there's something in there, I started to really look into that. What's going on with this? What the hell is going on with this? And I start to trace it back and this is what's also happening, is a lot of old incidences that happened in my life that had a charge that never was resolved are just rising up out of the rubble, if you will.
Yeah.
And I went back almost 12 or 15 years to a moment when he was part of a 501c3, nonprofit group that I wanted to start working with my horses. I used to do work with my horses and people in at-risk communities. And he was running an outpatient program for addicts, adults. And I had hoped to try to do some stuff with the addiction community and my horse program. And also he, knowing that he was doing a program, like a counseling type situation, a group therapy type situation, I wanted to know what he was doing in his group and how it kind of related to what I hope to do with my group. And so I asked him, hey, I'd love to come and listen and sit in on one of your groups if that would be acceptable within HIPAA regulations and blah, blah, blah. He said, sure, come into my office, let's chat about it. And so I walked into his office in the position of something hoping to garner a little bit of his support and information. So there was a hierarchical thing. He was a little above me, right? I'm looking up to him for something. And sit down in his office. And before we get started, let's just both admit that there's kind of something between us, like an attraction. And at that moment, I didn't say anything. And I was surprised. I absolutely did not, have any inclination like that. I was in a position of trying to look to him for guidance and help and helping me get in this program, And I didn't say anything though. And I am convinced after like revisiting that, or it actually rose up, I didn't visit it, it visited me. I saw that all of these years of this push and pull with him was all about that moment when I didn't stick up for myself and say, hey, that's interesting what you're talking about, but it's not true for me. And just have it be that would be it, I mean, being there, standing my ground and saying no.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God. And then I open up this curriculum and it's all about that. I'm like, oh my God. It was like such synchronicity. So I just want to thank you so much. And I just want to mention that the intention to unearth these places where there's a charge in a relationship and you can't put your finger on it.
Yeah.
There's a source. There's a source of that.
Yes.
I can't be so definitive about that. All I can say is that for this situation, there definitely was a source.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful to see that. So the question was, and this is only the second time I've told this story. I told it to a friend yesterday. I don't have any interest in telling it anymore because it is a story. And I don't really know if it happened, but it appears to have affected the system, the nervous system.
And that's relevant. That's the
It is relevant. Exactly. Whether it's true or not, this system thinks it is.
Yeah.
And is there any value in going to that person today? I mean, we're friends. I feel like I could do that. I don't know if I care to. I don't know if it's relevant. I feel just speaking about it and seeing the whole thing and how it unfolded over the years is enough to feel clear. At the same time, I feel more energy coming up in the body, some kind of, something is happening as I speak about it, which wasn't happening when I told my friend yesterday. So that's interesting too. So anyway, just throw that back on you guys and say, what do you think?
Well, I think it's really important to remember that whatever you because it's a similar situation to the situation Gita is in, right? That we talked about earlier, but it's not the same. Your situation happened years and years and years ago. You're still good friends, but you just feel in you that there's been a push-pull about you being completely gobsmacked and not knowing what to say, and then creating a story where you feel guilty about not saying and you feel shameful about not saying. So you have actually built a story that's more about guilt and shame than actually anything that he did. So it's very important to keep it at where it is,
Mm-hmm.
You say now, I should have said, it's great for you that you feel attracted to me. I'm gorgeous. I understand it. I don't feel attracted to you. You should have said that. And now you can sit, as the adult in the room and say, you should have said that. But there was a reason why Lisa then was not in a position to say that.
Yes.
There were other things in her life at play that played into guilt and shame. So she didn't say it. So she didn't act to it. So it's more about looking back to that Lisa, sit and go into meditation, go into the situation. You're entering the room, you sit down in the chair, he say it, let all the emotion come back into the body, and then stand right next to Lisa and saying, it's okay. It's okay. You did not know what to say in the situation. You did not know to act as the adult in the room because you were not the adult in the room yet. You will be, sweetheart.
Totally.
You will be,
Yes.
sweetheart. You will be in a position where you're ready to address him and go straight up and say it. But right now you're not. So forgive yourself for what you did not do, what you thought you should have done, and end all the times that you have built on that regarding guilt and shame in other aspects of your life that has the same root story, if you know what I mean.
Well, it is. And it's the root story of I didn't trust myself enough then.
Yes.
And actually, maybe up until very recently, to just stand up and say how I felt.
Yeah.
And it's this
the
trust
reason
issue that's been unearthed through so many different things.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And not feeling that you have the power or the strength or the worthy or whatever, the esteem or whatever, that has a foundation in guilt and shame. So it's important to look into the guilt and shame and see which other point since that position where you were sitting in the chair, since that situation, how many times in your life have you dropped a little sprinkle of guilt and shame and haven't reacted because of that situation? But the moment you go into meditation and you meet yourself in that situation, your seventh fetter, back to that situation, then the other times will unearth themselves. You will become aware, oh my goodness, there was that time in the supermarket. Oh my goodness, that time with my boss. And you will start to see. But it needs to happen with lots of compassion and lots of love and understanding for Lisa being acting, reacting the way that she did in the situation, being completely paralyzed, not knowing what to do. That is an okay reaction. It's completely fine. You did fine. You did good.
Yeah, I hear you. It's, and I'm not going into opposition into what you're saying. There wasn't even a memory about this incident until it just popped up about a week ago, because I've been doing so much of this deep emotion work and I've been clearing out a lot of space, and now all of a sudden situations are coming up that are like, oh my gosh, and I can see that I've been carrying it without even realizing. It's like the unconscious clearing out or something.
Absolutely. 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 And congratulations for being here now. But just remember meeting every single memory with love and compassion and kindness. See the
Yes.
situation for you were not the adult in the room. You are now.
Oh,
And that's where you
absolutely.
can go back in history to that point and fill yourself with all the love and compassion that she needed. She needed support in that instance. She needed a friend being right next to her going like, I get why you're into her. She's gorgeous. She's not into you. But you did not have that friend, but you can be that friend now. And
I can
and
feel that.
and he's got
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. He could be dead. He's got nothing to do with it.
Absolutely. And I think so. What I think you're saying is there's absolutely no point in there's nothing to be gained from going to him at this point with any of it. It doesn't have anything to do with him.
No, because what is it exactly you want him to do?
Nothing. That's just it. Nothing.
So no point.
Exactly. And that's why I said, I told the story. It's also there's a certain little catch in me that says, oh, you're telling a story, you're I don't want to tell the story.
Don't bypass.
No, right. Well, no, I don't want to bypass. I want to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
I totally want to acknowledge it. I want to acknowledge everything that you're saying. And at the same time, there's I don't want to live in that story. It's not my story anymore. It isn't my story anymore.
But it is, Lisa. We're talking about it. You just made it your story. It is.
Well,
it did come up. It did come up because it's relevant. And you need to allow yourself for that story to be relevant until it's not relevant anymore. And that will happen all on its own. When you allow it to be and you meet it with love and compassion and you forgive Lisa for doing, you judge her right now for saying she should have done differently. I'm saying she shouldn't because she was completely in shock. It's like women that are experiencing being, groped in the subway and completely paralyzed, don't know what to do. And then they spend 40 years, on their case for not reacting, that I should have turned around and kicked him, I should have, but you couldn't. You were paralyzed. You did the best you could in the situation. In hindsight, we're so wise and so judgmental, and that's unfair. So the moment you meet yourself with love and compassion and really truly understand that you did the best you could in the situation, and all that guilt and shame that came from that situation that had happened before the situation, that did in the situation that you did not know what to do, and afterwards was sprinkled onto other situations, all that needs so much love. And when all that has been loved, when all that has been loved and appreciated, the story will dissolve all by itself. And 3 years from now, you will completely have forgotten. You won't remember anymore. And you might watch this recording and go like, oh yeah, I remember that. But otherwise, you would have completely forgotten because the need has been met.
Yes, I thank you. That's wonderful. And just as it's so weird to realize this now. Very recently, I was on an airplane, and I mean, within the last 6 months, and I walked up behind a stewardess, and she was doing something, and I needed to get her attention. So I think I tapped her on the shoulder, and she turned around. She said, "Don't you touch me." And I was like, again, I was just shocked. So it was a weird similarity to this situation, but it was about
it's really really good when we meet people like that. It might have been an overreaction on her part, but it's really useful for all of us that do not react. It's really useful to meet somebody reacting like that and going like, wow, that is allowed. I'm allowed to talk like that. I'm allowed to say no like that. Oh wow.
It
It's
felt
really
a lot like it felt like a lot. I mean, it made me feel shameful the way she reacted to me. Like I'd really done something wrong when I didn't feel like what I'd done was wrong, but I honored it. I totally respected it. Yeah.
But in her world, you probably did. You touch her body. You're not allowed to touch her body. You're not allowed to touch anybody's bodies without their consent. It's basic rules. You're not picking up a baby before you ask permission from the baby. It's like common knowledge, consent is needed before we
Yeah.
touch people's bodies. But yeah, before we put the finger up their noses. But it's just we are a generation, our generation, you and I, our generation. We have not been taught that. The younger generation are much more clear.
We haven't been taught that. And I mean,
We
I've
haven't been
noticed
told that. Yeah.
well, not at all. And I mean, we just plow right on through people's boundaries. That's something I just noticed when I was looking at the curriculum. I thought, oh my God, I've been plowing through people's outer boundaries, I just like, oh my God. But I noticed something that's very prevalent in 20-somethings these days when I'm walking my little dog, who is absolutely adorable. And everybody wants to lean down and pet her. Almost everybody below the age of 30 says, can I touch your dog? Do you mind? And it always surprises me because that is not something that I've ever experienced before in the last 3 or 4 years since I've had this dog.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have had to retrain my mom. She's 83. She's touching all babies and dogs in her vicinity. I've had to retrain her. We do not do that anymore. We ask for consent. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I
just wanted to make one more comment too and see what you thought about this on it. And that was so beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, you guys are so great. The meditation, Todd. Woo! So that was so amazing. And after a bit, about 3/4 of the way into it, all the sound that was coming up was like right. It was like coming through the back of it was like in the back of my neck, right at the base. Something. It wasn't out there anymore. It was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Amazing.
But one thing I did want to say, because this has been a very prevalent in the imagery field thing, it's like there's a thin veil of little tiny dots everywhere. And so when I open my eyes, and this has been going on for a while, I've been noticing it for months. I especially can see it at night in a dimly lit room, that it feels like there's a film of dots that's all over the imagery. And it's very subtle, but it's there. And when I opened my eyes, I could see that thin film. And it felt like that not only the image, but the sound and the sensations were also those dots. Those dots were all those sensory experiences at that moment. So that was a really good, really lovely.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm really glad. Yeah, it's like that. There is some weird, almost pixelization or granulation of all of our sense fields when we really pay that close of attention to them. It's like even the visual field and the auditory field are little teeny tiny grains. I mean, I was actually just saying to you last night that if I'm, without glasses on, like staring up at the ceiling, like everything is just this wash of moving, really, swirling grains and particles.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard people talk about it as a pixelation, but I've never seen what I would call pixelation. But instead I see this kind of, it's like newsprint blown up like a zillion %, and all you see is little dots. And
Exactly. It's amazing. I also wanted to say too, before we wrapped up on that, just going back to just wanted to throw it because this came up when you were talking about, the situation with your friend. And it's an interesting thing to, oh, are you frozen?
I hope not.
I can hear you. Oh, okay, you're back.
I see you. Yeah, I hear you.
Is maybe another interesting way of looking at it is because, like you had said, that, we don't want to get caught up in the storification of it, that creating a whole thing, but it's still relevant in the moment. So it might be useful to think of it in terms of when something like this pops up. It doesn't necessarily have to have been real or true. It's a metaphor for something which is relevant for you in this moment. And instead of taking and making an entire story out of it and saying, I was Joan of Arc and no, maybe there's something in that story that pops up that is relevant in that moment for you to work with.
Yeah.
And it kind of maybe keeps it from becoming linked into the narration of, well, now I have to do something because I still know this person, and all of that. Like, just let it be, oh, well, why did that come up? And it could have been, it could have been an image from a TV show that you've watched. It doesn't have to have that kind of personal resonance in terms of my story. It's just something that shows up. It brings up something in the body. Okay, here's something to work with, and then just work through it as that and let it go.
I really love that.
Yeah, I
That
really like that.
helps.
Thank you.
That really helps with the whole storification thing that felt like it was trying to come together. Don't want to don't want to ever ignore what's coming up in the moment. But like you said, put it in a metaphorical framework of it's something. It's got information.
Yeah.
That was so beautiful. Everything that comes up in the consciousness is got information for you, definitely. So yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate that so much. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
Thank you.
I'm your biggest fans, and just want to encourage everybody to understand that you can make a donation on Tuesdays to this wonderful group.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
So much
Thank you.
appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
donation is always appreciated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you I saw you became a member. So thank you. Thank you for the channel. So much
Whatever I
appreciated.
can do to support y'all, I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Lisa.
much. Thank you. I really like the metaphor.
Thank you.
I really like that because it's like really becoming aware of everything that arises in the moment. Like Lisa talks about a situation that happened years and years and years ago. Do I react on that? See it as a metaphor.
Yeah.
That it's not about the situation, what happened, but that is alive right now.
Yeah.
So use it as a metaphor right now. I really like that.
Thanks.
Gonna use that.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sophia and Sebastian.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
It was beautiful to
So good to see you.
hear. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Good to
Yeah.
see you.
We are the biggest fans, Lisa. I'm sorry. It's been really helpful, and we haven't like really watched the new video yet, but the topics seem to be very present for both of us, and maybe even more for me recently, like all about setting boundaries and standing up for yourself, and in my case especially, like kind of taking the space I need, because I could never do that when I was young. So when stuff now shows up in a way that's similar to back then, it's almost like the feeling from back then of being helpless is triggered in me.
Yes.
And what seems to be really helpful is to see those situations and now stand up for the small child I once was. And
Yeah.
for now, it seemed to have been more like smaller situations where I really noticed that and seem to be able to do some kind of healing in the situation. I mean, there has been some reparenting going on, like you said. I went back into myself and talked to that little child that was so sad about not getting the space from my dad, especially, but then also in other situations. And what really came up is that I wasn't giving that space to me in many situations as well. And then also what kind of hurt in a way is to see that because I'm not able to give myself space, I'm also not able to give others space
Yes.
in the way they would need to. And how painful that is for the whole system in a way.
Yeah.
And what's happening right now is that there are many small situations and I can almost trace them back to childhood as well. For instance, when we are at the dinner table with a group and I feel I need to pee, then I would say, okay, it's not really necessary right now, because like when we were on the Autobahn when I was younger, my dad said, it's only an hour more. Yeah, you can hold it for that time. Can't you? Yeah, you can, but do you need to? And now I can just say, I need to go to the toilet. And like, another thing I noticed, I don't even need to explain. I can just get up, leave the other people to their dinner, go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Or when we agreed to meet friends we just have been on a retreat. And on the retreat, all of that came up, and you are in many social situations, but you're also like in need for some space because there's so much stuff coming up.
Yeah.
And when you feel emotionally charged and I at the breakfast table and people want to talk about what work they do and stuff like that, and you're not able to participate. So taking myself out in those situations, just say, I need to sit for myself right now seemed so like I felt like gratitude, or like my younger self felt gratitude for me being able to do that.
Yeah.
Just go and feel how it feels, and because you get the message from your body that you don't want to be here right now. So you have to go. Or another example, last evening of the retreat was a dance party. Yeah? It was very loud, overwhelming, and I felt very raw and vulnerable. So everybody was, you're gonna go to the dance party. Of course, everyone is gonna go, and I don't really feel like it. And then when I approached it, I was like, I can't go there. And then, yeah, I don't need to. I can take my personal space right now, and I don't have to explain it to anybody, not even to myself. I don't even need to know why I don't want it. I
Yes.
can just feel I don't want, and then I can go and sit in the dark alone and feel liberated in a way.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I love that so much. What you're doing is you're tapping into all the feathers. You have just, in what you just said, in the explanation you just did, you talked about all 10 feathers. You're de-identifying on all 10 levels. You know, there's a very clear sensation of boundary. There's a very clear connection to, boundary 6 feather, very clear connection to the second feather of the toxic starting point. There's a very, what I want to be in a certain way. I know I'm not in a certain, I don't want to do things for 5 feathers. Putting yourself in the position of the child, 7th feather, where you're dissolving time and you're just staying with it. You're just going with whatever flow you have. You don't even need to explain. We're back to the 2nd feather. You just go with the flow. That's 9th feather, where it's just, I feel like peeing. I'm just getting up and peeing. I don't feel like dancing. I'm not gonna go and dance. And I don't even need to know why. 10th feather. It's like all of them were just there in what you just said. And when you were explaining it, you're sitting in with such a calm and talking about it. It's absolutely a joy. So thank you so much for that.
It doesn't feel so calm, honestly. It feels very raw and intimate and almost overwhelming at times. And challenging and all of it, but thank you.
Sorry, I was just
You're fine.
curious. When you
Please,
say overwhelming and raw, can you be more specific about the ways in which it feels raw and overwhelming?
It feels like the actual boundaries are dissolving. Like I can't feel my body in the way I was before. The visual experience is so close and intimate and alive and almost like just so much in my face.
Yes.
Just the sheer amount of aliveness I'm feeling sometimes seems to be too much for parts of me.
Yeah.
Or for the part that still feels so self-centered.
Yes.
Like that's more than I'm able to feel in a way. Like I can tell you what happened after the dance party. I mean, I felt like it's too much, and then I went away from it, and it still felt too much. And I went to the room and laid in the bed, and I started to listen to your prelude to the 6th feather, and then I don't know, everything fell away for a while, and then the video was over. I didn't hear anything. I don't think I slept. It was more like meditative blackout or something like that. And Sophie came back, and then back later, and then I wake up half an hour later and like feel this sheer helplessness in my belly, like this feeling of helpless, of vulnerability, and that's expanding into everything. It was just the most intense feeling I ever had, and I don't know how long it lasted, for a while. And then I come back from it, and I notice I'm just grabbing Sophie. She's sleeping; she doesn't notice, but I come back. So it's like it's just a lot happening. And all the time, every day is. I mean, also I haven't been doing anything else than this kind of work for quite a long time now, and it seems to be kind of becoming more and more and more. And I mean, it's also exciting. It's not like I'm not complaining.
It is also.
I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No. You absolutely, you said a lot of good things. Yeah, but no, I just want to say that when I get those, because as an artist, I often get overloaded and just very often get that I can't differentiate between my boundaries. So I smell sights and I hear feelings and it's like complete synesthesia on all levels. And what I normally do when I'm there is that I kind of give myself that mental image of like falling back into the ocean and floating, where I'm just, allowing whatever is happening and I'm just floating on waves of everything. Does that make sense? Because if you're fighting,
I think what I'm trying is to like kind
you
of drop
can't
into my
float.
belly.
Pardon?
What I try is to kind of drop into my belly.
If that
Like,
is if that is where it feels for you.
but it's also like it's retreating as well. I mean, I kind of go into a little flight. I retreat from the situation and try to get away a little bit.
Are you trying to, or don't you want to do that?
I think I'm trying to and doing that.
What's wrong with having a break? Are you forceful?
Guess I'm putting so much importance to it that it feels like a missed chance if I retreat too much or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, that's what I was going to say to begin with, is that we do have to be kind and gentle when we're doing these things. And, the body, the nervous system has to have time to catch up and recalibrate. And it can be useful at times if it feels like you're forcing things and it's really like too much at times. It's okay to step back,
Float.
float. Yeah. Let things just kind of happen, chill out. You don't have to have every single opportunity, for insight or for inquiry. You can let some of those pass by. There will be more.
Yeah, and
just,
also exactly, because it's also that puts it in a premise where you can miss out.
Yeah.
Where there's an inside and out. If you don't grab it right now, you're gonna lose it. That's not possible at all. We're talking about floating here. You cannot float better. Or it's just floating, going with it. And whatever happens is where you're floating, and that's where it takes you. That's where the inside is at. Because you cannot be forceful about it and you cannot grab it. It's like grabbing a rainbow or a light going through the window. You can't, you need to really hold it lightly. So you can't be forceful about it. That would just be a repetition of an old pattern. That is just you forcing yourself not to pee while you're at the autobahn, holding it another hour. That's you being forceful. It doesn't help. It doesn't help.
I have been watching some golf and football on TV, and maybe that's also part of giving me space when I need it. Like when it feels like I need a break, then to give it, even though it doesn't seem to be 100% aligned with how life's going right now.
Yeah.
Because what I'm forceful about is that I see that some of the behaviors I that come out in this moment seem to be on the falling away side. Like, and then I pick them out because it's the old safety or something like that. But it's also false safety. And something in me definitely knows that there is safety in the experience. So it doesn't feel necessarily right to take me out of the experience to go to the old false safeties of what wie sagt man ablenken?
Diversion.
Of diversion, basically.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. This is something where, you have to if you're coming to that conclusion because you're using, logic and force to go into, well, but I know that there is ultimately going to be safety in just being with what's here, even though I don't feel it right now, then I should kind of force myself to stay with it until I feel safe. That's not the same as actually feeling, it's not a false sense of security when you're watching golf on TV. It's no more false than anything else. You're kind of numbing the senses a little bit. You're changing your focus so that you're externalizing it on something, and you're able to kind of stop being as self-referential, ironically, because what I'm about to say doesn't negate the whole, taking it easy kind of thing, but pointing to the inquiry aspect of it, like when you said that you get overwhelmed because, everything is really up close and very bright and loud and that,
Mm.
what is it that is the thing which is seeing it and being overwhelmed by it? There's still the selfing happening in the one who is here with the visual field really up close. So that is the thing that is causing the stress in that situation. Having very close up visuals is the natural state of being. It's the sixth fetter of pushing things away, which creates that sense of distance and it creates that sense of space. And it's also the thing that creates that feeling of being the one who is in here at a distance from the things that are out there. So the closeness and the loudness and the vibrantness of sights and sounds and sensations isn't in themselves a stress inducing thing. It's the feeling that there's something here which is getting claustrophobic, that it's too close, it's too loud, I'm being
Could be in a
overwhelmed.
different way.
Yeah, and it could be in a different way. And so it's that thing which, when you feel it's right, can be felt into and looked for. And it's like, what is this thing which is causing that feeling of discomfort in this moment?
Yeah, it's the part that thinks it's controlling
Yeah.
anything.
And that thinks it's seeing and that thinks it's hearing. It's what I tried to point to in the meditation today, that there's this false sense of a witnesser or a subject inside there who feels like things are getting really close to it, but is it really there in existence at all? A blank wall
I mean,
never feels claustrophobic from itself. Like a blank wall could not get closer to the blank wall, but it doesn't feel claustrophobic in that closeness, right? Like a thing is in its entirety, but it doesn't feel claustrophobic or too close about it. So the visual field there's nothing behind it. There's nothing seeing it from a distance. There's no viewer in a movie theater with the screen really so close to its face. It's just an image. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, and it's not always that is not my experience.
Yeah.
But if the overwhelm kicks in, or like ground level anxiety kicks in, or the situation seems to become too challenging, then like the old habit of being centered back into the head that just kicks in, and then it's hard to differentiate.
You first.
So when this anxiety comes up, is the anxiety about that change, or is it about something else that's going on in the situation?
I think it's just like that there's a part of me that probably still doesn't believe any of it. Like we're all just crazy.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? This can't be it. How the fuck are you supposed to live in a world where everything dissolves into everything else, and where there's no boundaries, and where there's no real people, and where it's like danger, you're not safe, kind of.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a little bit, and I feel like I have been working a little bit with the "I love myself and I'm not safe" mantra from Ted's interview, and
Amazing.
maybe that was even like a month ago, and starting a lot of the stuff that has been coming up. And what I also I think my approach was like I stay in the situation and feel the anxiety, and it's not that it's not working. Maybe there's just a lot of anxiety from my whole life.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, if you want to say something, I think mine is another track.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, as far as working with the anxiety, because the anxiety creates that sense of selfing, right? The anxiety is self-referential. It can't be the other way. So on one level, you're projecting these ideas about a future where you can't tell one person from the background that they're standing in front of, and you don't know who anybody is and who anything is. And none of that is like the way that one actually lives, you know, generally speaking, after working with the Fetters. It's not like it's not that that's the end goal, but there's an idea of this, and there's an idea of the dysfunctionality, and there's an idea of what's going to happen to me if I can't survive in the world the way that I'm used to. And all of that starts the fear cycle that again is all self-referential. If there was
Diversion.
and a diversion, but it's all self-referential in the way that it's creating the sense of a me who has to survive the same way that I have always been used to surviving. And what is going to happen to me if I start seeing the world in this weird, freaky, psychedelic way? And what if I can't tell the difference between things? And what if I can't keep a job? And what if I end up becoming homeless? And what if I end up dying in a gutter? And what if? And it's all of that stuff which anxiety is always creating a me out of. And so instead of that, recognizing that these thoughts are only thoughts, they're not happening right now, even when things are super close up. And there are moments when maybe you can't distinguish directly the boundary between, you know, one tree and the sky behind it or something like that. It's just an image that's appearing, and it's not actually really altering your functionality, and it's not necessarily going to be a permanent thing. It's an experience that's showing up now, just like if somebody takes, you know, acid or something. It's an experience that comes up, and it's not a permanent state. It doesn't have anything to do with the creation or the changing of a you who's in there. And just be with that anxiety when it comes up. Feel what's actually there. Recognize that there's sensation coming up in the body that we're labeling as anxiety, and that you have all of these thoughts about all of these possibilities and all the worst case scenarios. Not maybe I'm going to be really happy and really functional and really, really like have an amazing life where I'm not getting in my own way and creating all of these obstacles for myself. And it's just going to be, wow, life is going to be great. We don't go down that track. We always go down the what if danger, danger track. So coming into the body, feel that sensation, see all of the images that are flashing out with all of the warning signals, and just let them be. Let them pass on. Don't get caught up in the stories of them, and just see what happens with that sensation. What is this bringing up? We know that there's a history of this feeling of insecurity and unsafety. So can you be with this unsafety in this moment? Can you be with the sensation, even without the label unsafety or anxiety or insecurity? Just be with what is here.
I think that's what I'm doing most of the time. What kind of thank you, Todd. I mean, this was beautiful, and I'm gonna re-listen to it. But what kind of kicked me was what Pernille said about this being a diversion.
Yeah.
Because I think what it's diverting from possibly is like just the fear of completely disappearing, like the fear of me disappearing.
Yeah.
The one that wants to be special, that doesn't want to be like everyone else, that wants to have this life for himself, and that kind of pattern that it's diverting from that, because like to a certain degree, even that part of me knows that the game is done, like that. And, like I have looked for myself often enough to see that it's all like parts and memories and this and that. It's just pushed together in a cloud that seems to be something solid, but isn't when you look for it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it still kind of seems like fighting with all it has in a way. Yeah.
There's a really good exercise that I'm gonna make for the curriculum as well. And is that six Fetter really noticing how much the body, the meat suit, is responding all the time to stimuli. Because so far, when we talked about the direct experience, it's very much been what you have thoughts, that is fantasy, you have everything you experience, you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, that is reality. That is your direct experience. And every exercise we have made with you have been talking about what is your direct experience? What do you feel in the body right now? Coming back to the body right now, in your direct experience, what do you actually feel? And up until the sixth fetter, that is how we need to view the world. In the sixth fetter, we are dissolving even that. Because the meat suit is giving you signals all the time that is not connected with a you anywhere. For example, if I'm asking you to look, you can sit and look at the screen right now. And I want you to keep focusing on the screen right now. By now, you will see that the visual stimuli has changed. You see shadows in a different way. The background is kind of becoming black or white. And all the things that are happening in the periphery is very, very blurry, right? Do you feel in your body that your eyes would like to move? Your eyes would like to move like that to see what is in the periphery. That is not connected with a Sebastian anywhere. That is the meat suit that want to do that. And if you now look at something in the periphery, let's say, no, keep looking at me, look at me.
Sorry.
Keep looking at me. But then I would like for you to notice something in the periphery, what you turn your gaze at. Is that a window? What is that?
Window, yeah.
Okay. So in the periphery, you have the window. I would like for you to notice keep looking at the screen, but notice the periphery of the window. Do you feel how your body, your eyes really, really would like to look at it? There's a grasping, there's a pulling towards looking at the window, and looking at the screen feels unpleasant. You really want to look at the window. And in that, you have the fourth, fifth fetter tied in with the sixth, and there's not a Sebastian in it. Do you see that? So right now, yeah. Keep looking at me. Keep looking at the screen. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to look, slowly move your head, and then you're going to feel how your eyes are grasping onto things. And it might see a chair. And when the chair kind of comes into your eyes, immediately you will attach a story to the chair. When you bought the chair, if you like the chair, you need to have it upholstered. Oh, there's a shirt lying on the chair, needs to put in. All of that is in a little bubble just by looking at the chair, and there's no Sebastian in it. So notice that now in a moment, you very, very slowly move your head from the screen and towards the window, and then notice how your eyes are grasping. The body is doing that without the Sebastian. So try to do that now, very, very slowly. Move towards the... And now you're at the window. Finally, you're at the window. The window is so nice. You get your reward. This is how wonderful it is to look at the window. Do you feel how you want to look at the screen now? And the body is doing that. This is 4-5 fetter. And your body is doing that without the Sebastian. Now you finally got what you wanted. You wanted to look at the window. Now you don't want the window anymore. Now you want to look at the screen because I'm sitting and talking. You should look at me. What are you sitting and doing looking at the window? And all that is happening in the body without a Sebastian. So this is a great exercise. You can look at the screen now if you want. This is a great exercise. This is a great exercise to really, really notice how much the meat suit is dictating throughout your day, where there's no you there. You do not need to be there for that push-pull to happen. It happens all by itself because that's how we drive a car and pay our taxes. But you do not need to be there. When you become aware of that and you have done that exercise, then when you get overwhelmed, it's easier to differentiate how much is meat suit reacting and how much is second fetter Sebastian trauma happening, because there's a difference.
I think it's often the meat suit reacting and then putting an interpretation on top of it and then relating it to the trauma.
That's the feedback loop that we talk about. Yeah, there's that feedback loop. But what happens is that the feedback, okay, you have a thought that goes into a sensation in the body, or a sensation in the body that goes into a thought. Whatever new thought you create is giving a signal to a new sensation in the body. And that's how it goes like that. But you can slow it down. You can slow it down so you really, really notice that the thought you have is giving a sensation in the body. If you stay with that sensation in the body, it's going to last 7 to 11 seconds. And then it's done. And
it's enough to stay 10 seconds with the sensation in your body.
And then it will change without a thought attached to it. Within 7 to 11 seconds, that sensation has changed, because nothing stays the same ever. And we're running 30 years of our lives not to feel shame, because we don't want to stay with shame for 11 seconds.
I do want to feel it all. I mean, this is like, I'm sitting there every morning, give it to me. Like,
yeah. But you can't be forceful. Then you're just your dad in the car. You can't be forceful. You need to do this with lots of compassion. You're healing the past here. That's the 7th fetter, the next fetter we're going into, we're healing the past. So don't become your dad. Stay being the kind Sebastian that you are. And with lots of love and compassion, you allow yourself to take as much time as you need. You're not in a rush. Where are you going? So use the exercise. I'm going to make it more detailed on the challenge so you have it. But use the exercise to notice how much is meat suit and how much is 2nd fetter trauma that needs to be met.
One last quick thing.
Yeah.
So when there's a fear reaction or shame reaction, if I would be able to just be with it without creating one thought, there's nothing wrong with that approach.
It would dissolve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would dissolve, because it's the resistance to it that is giving it life.
I think there's a belief that I need to understand something about it, or something that I need to figure out why it's coming.
Yeah, sweetheart, you're not that wise. You can't understand it. You can't.
Yeah. I want to understand it. I want to understand something. Wants to understand it.
Yeah, and that grasping is 4th fetter. What will happen if you don't understand? Can you be in a body that don't understand?
Has been coming up.
Good. Well done, you.
You can ask.
Yeah, I don't know if we are exceeding the time now.
Yeah,
I would have
I'm sorry.
Because I can't keep that for the next one. It's like related to boundaries and compassion, but probably it's longer. Could be longer than I think.
Yeah.
So I keep that for the next time.
Yeah, if you're okay to keep it, then next time we have three,
yes.
then you come first, and then you can ask it then. Because Todd, he has a 1 to 1.5 an hour. He needs food. He needs toilet and food and snuggles.
Yeah, thank you for your time anyway. So it's really great.
Thank you
so good to see
a very big pleasure to watching it. Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
Thank you so
much.
Thank
you so much for that.
It's a pleasure having you guys.
Yeah, it's so nice having you. So nice
Thank
having
you guys.
Thank you.
See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you. Let me just pin, and here move pin. So sorry, you guys, if you're sitting and waiting and wanted to ask questions, but yeah, that was it for today.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you both.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing and asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye.